Hi, welcome to Ask Dawn and Donna. And today we're going to talk about the divine masculine and feminine. And I just want to start, I'm looking down because I'm just reading this question that we got. So a friend thinks if she gets rid of the other woman, it will all be okay. And she's the other woman. So what do you think of that? Like if you're the other woman and then...
Well, it's fascinating how she herself thinks that if she gets rid of, so she's with this man that is unfaithful to both of them. And in her brain, that if she could just get rid of that other woman, that the relationship would be all okay. And the relationship she needs to be okay with is the one with herself that tells her that this is not okay and that she deserves better.
Exactly. Because it's, there's this fantasy to think that if you, you're going to change someone and their behaviors and it's your love and it's your essence that's going to make it okay. Because if he was only unhappy with the other woman, and there's always reasons, like you can always get out of a relationship. You don't have to cheat on anyone. I have very strong opinion about cheating, and luckily so does my husband. Like that is one thing that if we ever did to each other, first of all, I'm way too lazy. I could never make that happen. And I am way too guilt ridden. Like it would just be
all over my face. There's no game face. I can't lie.
Either can I.
And this brings up a point. This brings up a very good point I want to talk about is, on the stream of judgment, how there's been this mass judgment, on Taylor Swift and her dating history and all these men. And then she writes the song about it, right? And it's let's talk about kissing frogs. I have kissed a lot of frogs, and it isn't until I've done the work and now know my value that won't happen again, actually. And I know that. And I have this friend who married the love of her life at 23, and every breakup I had, she's like, you have to write a book. I can't even make that shit up, right? Like it's really so one particular frog used sex to his advantage. So he was skilled at it, and that clearly was my lesson within it, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to him for that. But then he created a false sense of intimacy to get what he needed, which was a sexual relationship. And then instead of having the guts to say, I don't see you in my future, he blamed me. He said that I cheated on him. And he has this whole pattern where he was only faithful to one woman, his wife, who he broke up with when she wanted children. And then every girlfriend since then, he's broken up with because they've cheated on him. Now there's a block to talk about, right? So
there is. It's classic projection,
and he should call me because I can clear that shit.
He should. Now you can have a different relationship. But relationships are so funny. It's they're so complicated because there's your world and the other world's coming together, and they're not logical. So you can't look at it like, oh, he did this and that happened, because there's a whole other element to your wounds, your karma, your emotions, your beliefs, things you don't know about yourself, things you do know about yourself. There's all of that. And from an external view, you can look at a relationship like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, why this? But there's so many other factors that go on. You never know really what's going on in a relationship. You never do.
No. Sometimes the two people in it don't know what's going on. And sometimes that they say that, seeing as how you're the only married one in this twosome, they say that you marry the person that will heal your wounds.
That's true. Me and my husband have the exact shadow side for each other that will heal our wounds. And luckily, we have enough of the positive side too to stay in the relationship, because there's many times, especially when we first got married, that we were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, this is forever. Like, this is it. This isn't that fun. The first year was
that
tough.
moment. You had that moment, right? They talk of that moment where you roll over and think, what have I done?
Like, this is forever. Oh my God. Are we going to have the same fight for 50 years?
Yeah.
Yes. The truth is we will have the same fight for 50 years, but it'll be different layers, hopefully. And
growth.
It took
expansion.
us time to
and
really
let's
grow.
see the divinity in that. This is what is called a divine pairing. And what makes a pairing divine is no fixers, no saviors, no prostitutes, no subpersonalities, no white knight on a horse. It's two whole souls coming together and creating something magically divine in the middle, and not taking anything from the other.
But that's a work. It's like but the reality of it, it's a mess. It's chaotic. It's hurt feelings. It's figuring out your wounds. It's figuring out the projection, because there's a whole point in your marriage, I think longer term relationships too, where you then project all of your negative shadow stuff on them, and then think that they're doing it. And then it takes a minute to kind of go through that process and really own where you are triggered, what's your stuff. And it's all your stuff, really. If there's a thing in the relationship, it's your fault. Like, it's not the other person needs to change. No. You need to change.
And again, why the work works.
But it's
why
hard
it never ends
to do that.
Not easy.
Like, to have this whole case and be very justified clearly in your whatever, but then still in that moment go back, but no, it's me. Like, I need to change stuff. And that's hard when you're in a relationship to do on a practical level. It's hard
when you're by yourself too. And so I feel quite lucky to be alone at this time and to have had such immense healing. That I've been able to do all of that without continually harming myself in awful relationships. There's so many things I think, if that happened today, there is no way it would go down like that again. You know, because I have changed and healed so much for myself. And so I hope to find another whole soul that is coming at it like not expecting, you know, that long list, that dating list, that checklist that we want of that perfect human being, because nobody's perfect, but somebody that's going to love and respect and allow me total freedom to be all that I am, good, bad, and ugly.
and that's really it.
Create the middle.
To find someone that will accept you and stick in the hard times, because it's really sticking into those, because it's not just doesn't happen, because now you're going to be choosing someone else. But when you're in a relationship, that's when all the other stuff pops up. Like, okay, then you get to see what else you get to work on, you know, like you've healed other things, but it's the dynamic of being in relationship where you really get to change too, after you've healed some things and kind of figured out what you do want and what you don't want. And as you go through that process, you kind of, that gets more solidified that this is what you want.
Isn't that the whole point of all relationships? So I find, as I've done the work, I'm now able to heal relationships, friendships, things. I'm able to give and receive love. And we're going to talk about that balance on the next video.
Yeah, but there is so friends, definitely there's a relationship, and it's usually different, I have found, than romantic relationships, because the romantic relationships, not that you can't get triggered by your wounded child in many different things, but it's really that intimacy and that mirroring of those things you didn't get as a child that comes up in a romantic relationship, like safety, security, feeling heard or need, or whatever your thing is, that it needs to be healed, and then recognizing that that's what needs to be healed in that romantic relationship is deep work. And it is nice if both people, because it's always going to be like, no matter how conscious you think you are or how much you've done, you think there's always in life, it could be moment to moment in a day or weeks at a time or whatever, but you don't always just stay in this enlightened state unless you're like Buddha. And even then you still have an ego, and you just have to know how to harness your ego and work with it and know what your ego is. Yeah. So, and in a relationship, there's so many different subtle things. Like your wounded child needs to act out. Like there's certain times it just needs to like get whatever it wants back. Like that negative sort of, what's it called? It's kind of like, you know, if it's angry, it wants to feel wounded. It needs that wound to kind of come up to be like, yeah, I'm wounded. Yeah. But like, yeah, see, I told you this happens. And like you create it and then say, look, you're doing it to me, but it's still, it's just like the wound needs to kind of work out that pattern.
Yes.
And as the more conscious, even if you're really conscious, sometimes it doesn't always, can't catch it. Then that's when you can heal it, is when it's acting up and you know that it's something, so you could give it something different, have a different experience. But that I've done it and I haven't done it. And I can tell you it is a lot of, not self-discipline, but there really is, like, you really are like, okay, no, this isn't, I don't want to go down the same fight again. I need to communicate, and I need to give this light around my wounded child, my inner child that needs this, and sustain it until it kind of is not subsided, but soothed in a different way. Yeah. And that kind of really is where we started with, this is about the divine masculine and feminine. And this is really where I have to figure out my feminine and masculine qualities, but bring my femininity to nurturing, because I'm a woman, a man has a different thing, but in this body, I'm a woman. So part of that is nurturing, and how can I nurture myself? And how can I tap into all of the natural elements of a woman, like earth and water and yes. You know, be those things when I need to protect myself, but also be those things when I am truly needing to heal myself. Yes. And bring that out in a partner. Yes. The more
bring that out in a partner and honor their divine masculine. Mm-hmm. So no emasculation, and honoring what they're bringing into your life, you know. And see, as a perpetually single woman, I only had unhealthy relationships because I was triggered and had so much to heal. I just went from one bad situation to another. So I finally feel like a whole soul capable of having a healthy relationship. And I have no naivete anymore about the white knight, or what is that? A knight on a white horse?
Yeah.
Savior complex thing. I always thought somebody would save me, and I now understand that's me. I have to save me. Mm-hmm. And I actually look forward to learning and expanding within a healthy, respectful, loving relationship and the divine masculine. And I have never been the easy choice.
I don't think I have either.
No, I was very, very gifted, literally, at cutting men at the knees. And I thought I was funny and charming, and actually I was an asshole. And
me too.
And I don't do that anymore. I'm funny, but in a totally different way, in a softer, divinely feminine way. And also doing the work and being very aware of my vibration, right? I was vibrating very low, and that's what I attracted in.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're not healthy, that's why you have these shit show relationships. But as you do the work and you put your vibration higher and fill your own cup first, which we're going to talk about the next video, that that you will attract somebody at your level. And so that whole victimhood of, why does that person get all the really great guys? Well, she's probably vibing a whole lot higher than you, right? And she holds the space for his divine masculinity, where I would emasculate men and then wonder why I wasn't getting the love of my life. And that's kind of why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And
It's an aha moment.
Definitely. And that's the beautiful part of working on yourself, though, Dawn, because you could have gone through your whole life and still had that. I mean, you know, like still attracted that and be in serial relationships where that happened, but still in that relationship. But at some point, and we all have to choose. We have to decide, like, okay, what else is there? I know there's a way to be in a relationship better. So whatever our karma is, whatever our wounds growing up, whatever our, whole thing that we come into this world for, and lessons we need to learn, sometimes we learn them. I'm not usually the first time learner with things like this. Like what first time it comes to, like, oh, okay, no, I'm not going to choose it. I keep choosing it. And then when I can't take it anymore,
yes, that's
then
a Donnism. I'm a very slow learner. I'm a slow learner. I've had to learn them the hard way time and time and time again.
Yeah, I'm like,
but therein lies the beauty of relationships, is that every relationship is a success if you learn and grow from it. If you don't, if you walk away saying it was all their fault, which we've heard a lot, I've seen and witnessed a lot, and if you naively think that getting rid of the other woman is going to make everything okay, you need to really, every time you point a finger at somebody, there are 3 pointing right back at yourself.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And that's where relationships, I think why people, they're not a hot topic, but everyone wants a healthy relationship. Everyone wants to be loved. I mean, no matter where you are, what's going on, it's
universal.
Or you want to choose not to be in a relationship because you don't, like, if you really don't want it, because you don't want to get hurt. So there's always a choice. There's always something within a relationship, but most people, even if they're like, no, secretly, they do want it because
they want
human.
Love.
They want love. They want to be cared for. Who doesn't want to be cared for and have that friendship? Like, friendships are one thing.
Why can't we define what a relationship would work best for us? I know this woman who happens to have a touch of OCD, and she was married for a very long time and literally has vowed never to do it again. Never. Shut that door. No freaking way. And it's like, well, why can't you date somebody that takes you out for dinner every Friday night and dancing? Or, why can't that be enough? And isn't that the divine masculine and feminine balance? It doesn't have to be marriage. It doesn't have to be living together. There's this new term called LAC, which is living apart but committed. And, I fought really hard for my freedoms in almost every arena of my life. Pretty much, I'd say every. And I'm not sure. It's going to take me a long time to get to that space where I actually want to share a space. I don't want to do somebody's laundry. I don't want to be responsible for those things. Freedom is so important to me, and I have another woman I know whose husband lives in a completely different country, and has for like 10 years. And of course, people judge that negatively. And it's like, it works for them. Shut up. You know? How is yours working? Should we talk about it? Because every time you're doing that, there's 3 back at you. So it's, again, judgment thing.
Yeah, there's judgment. It's kind of easier to judge other relationships of what you do and wouldn't do and what you would put up with and what you wouldn't, because it's not personal. You know, it's like it's a mental thing. But when you're in a relationship, there's the heart, there's all these other things. It's complicated. You can't go in and you can't, and I already said that, but you can't logically look at a relationship and say, if logical. This, that, because it's not. And the way to heal it
divine. It's divine. Even the misaligned, unhealthy relationships.
That's how you grow.
For your soul growth.
Yeah. How do you not?
I wouldn't be who I am without all those idiots and assholes. So
exactly. And you didn't know what you attracted. Yeah. Like you didn't know what you attracted and needed and what your kind of view is with men in relationships if you didn't have them.
No.
You know? Like they're kind of a mirror to that. Like that's what always good relationships
they were my mirrors. And you can tell exactly where I was based on why I chose them. It's so, because the inherent growth is always divine. It's always divine. There's always a plan. There's always a higher plan. And
there is.
Yeah.
So true.
So, and being single, being in a relationship, there is no right or wrong. We have the societal normative ideology that you should be married with 2.5 kids and a dog and a couple cars and a house, and then you should be perfectly happy. And that isn't what's happening out there.
No, especially as people grow and they want more freedom, or they also want more, I don't want to say selfishness, but there is more like, you have to meet my needs. Like all my needs have to be met. And if they're not met, then it's over. You know, it's emotionally like you didn't do this. So then that people are kind of drawn one way or another to people that they keep on wanting them to meet. That person is going to meet my needs. It's a fixation, or it's just kind of serial. No one will need it. So, and until you really are like, okay, fall in love and have whatever that bond is to keep you together, and then want to work through some things on your own timing. And it could take 50 years in order to work on stuff, or it could be like the first minute, you know? So it just kind of figures out, everyone has their own kind of place in that world.
Every relationship is about growth. And, and that, we should stop judging others for.
I think that's true.
Period.
Across the board. Yeah.
Across
judge our partners, judge ourselves, and then judge. No judgment. Have that critical mind that creeps out to all the rules in the world.
And see that again, the 60s free love thing. I think they had a lot right. That's today's theme. The 60s all love.
I love it.
I'm on board with it.
Well, even so, we talked about being single and the divine, but I also want to mention like meditation is one of the places where you can experience that sort of cosmic relationship within yourself. Like you can have all of those. We talked about sex in another video, but you can have, it's that same sexual energy. It's that divine energy you could tap into, and having a relationship with some sort of whatever it is, divinity, like God, Jesus, whoever, whatever, having those moments of silence to really get to know yourself and have that energy and that connection in meditation or prayer or whatever you call it. But when you go in, and that is also healing in a huge way, which I think a lot of people do kind of rely on that. But the magic in it is not just that this prayer or this thing will take it away from you, but the magic is that it transforms. Like it
transforms
and allows you to, the more you witness yourself, in my experience, the more I was able to see the areas where even if I knew like my behavior wasn't amazing, I was like, but whatever, I'm justified, or I don't want to be like, you know, I had to, the more I was able to meditate, and the more that it just wasn't in my ego and just wasn't me, because, you know, the ego doesn't want to die. The ego's there to protect you. The ego's awesome in that regard. So if it feels threatened, like it's going to die, or it's like, you know, acts out. In addition to the other wounded child.
I did that for about 40 years. Yeah. Acts
So
out. Like, that's all. No biggie.
You can't tell me what to do, or I'm justified, or I don't need this, or, you know, so the meditation and being silent gave me like, okay, well, is that serving me? Like, and how can and that's not me. My soul is always pure. Who I am at my core there's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
There's no brokenness. There's no pieces.
No.
I'm a full total being. It's just peeling off those layers, and the layers that get really shown in relationships of how to be and interact with others. Because if I'm interacting poorly outwardly with someone, I'm usually doing it somewhere within myself. It just doesn't come out. It's just not like, oh, you know, Joe popped into my life and I feel fine being a jerk to him because he's a jerk. Some people are, but it's like, so where in my life do I feel justified being a jerk to myself or to other people just because? So it's, you know, multi-layered, but really, and connecting to the divinity of your feminine and masculine form, and also that you have both, but really first going into the form you have and to connecting to your divine, and then balancing them, because many times I was much more aggressive and masculine, and I could do it myself. And I mean, part of that's woman's limb and all that stuff, but like, okay, how can I be both? Right now in this human form, I'm a woman. So how can I celebrate being a woman and build myself up in a way that I reflect the masculine, or bring out the best things in other women that I'm friends with, or the best thing in men that I'm friends with, or the best masculine part of, so we're both vibing here other than, and that low level. So meditation, I think, is a great way to, or prayer, or really going inward and being silent, is to figure out, again, where you are on that spectrum.
And the divine masculine and feminine is basically a lot of holding space. I think 90% of marriages survive because two people stay in the room. They're committed to staying in the room. And you both have to be that. And it ebbs and flows. The divine masculine and feminine is like everything else, where it ebbs and flows. And again, sometimes I've heard that successful marriage is when only one of you quits at a time. So
that's a good one.
If you both quit at the same time, then it's kind of done. Yeah. Exactly. And you know when that moment is over, and the divinity in it is that your souls are better off apart.
Yeah, some relationships are not meant to be forever, for sure.
No.
But to kind of work through whatever you need to,
and
to
it's
know
not a
that
failure. It's not a failure to not have it last forever either.
No, not at all, because there's certain things that just need to happen. And if someone's growing, or you're both growing and you're not growing together, that's also fine.
Yeah,
but if
not
one person
growing together. Yeah.
That's a big part of it. Well, this has been super fun to talk about.
Super fun.
Where we are in relationships. And it all comes back to, if the relationship's not good, it's me. If I want to change anything in my relationship, I got to change me. If I want something else to happen in the world, like if it's not happening how I want it, me. So, which could be like, oh God, bummer. But really it's super exciting, right? Because it's like, I have the choice.
Exciting.
I'm driving.
If your life is a shit show like mine was, you might want to look at yourself.
Yes. And you have the power to change it to something you want,
I can't even tell you how happy. I'm the happiest the healthiest I have been since I was 15 years old.
Wow, that's
The transformation is major, and I can barely shut up about it. Stuff is, the divine is calling me into action, and I got shit to say.
Hello. That's
And I'm
probably why we're
glad
doing this thingy.
And I'm glad you always hold the grace while I'm just spewing shit. Yes.
Oh, you're hilarious. But for me too, I did a lot of work on myself, like always. I think from, I don't know, when I could, more of a teenager, I've always, probably before
Well,
that.
we're empaths, and that's another video.
But I do think
Cool.
recently in the last year, since we've been doing the soul awakening method, that has changed things in my life that I never thought I could
Profoundly.
consciously change, because I did all this work in meditation, and it got me to a state where I could be open to clear those things. But I do think that this method does do amazing things for people. So if you want to know more about it,
It's
Dawn
profound.
has a link. I have a link. We could talk to you about it. We'll probably do a few shows about it. We'll probably start doing some healings on our channel. But for right now, we're just talking about kind of our framework about our life.
Principle.
As Dawn mentioned, she's getting a lot of information. We have a lot of stuff to say. So I hope you enjoyed the videos. If you have any questions or comments or anything, let us know and below. Or if you want to have us discuss something or just want to email us personally, you can go ahead and email us at askdawnanddonna@gmail.com. And thank you. And remember to find some love in your daily activities and life, and somewhere so you not only feel the love for yourself first, and then you find ways to share it. And we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.